Guys, today's video is the decade challenge. Now, a lot of people around the internet are doing the decade challenge as it relates to what they look like in 2010 and how they look like now. So I could, participate in that and show you this picture of me in 2010 at a photo shoot with my styling team at the time. I blame them. I blame you, Corliss and Ty and Hosea, for allowing me to wear that white outfit and those white shades, because now, 10 years later, it looks crazy and I feel like I look like a fool, but I thought that was pretty cool back then. But we were kicking off, going into, guys, man, my goodness, the next year or the next decade, as it were, as a styling team, and we did this all white photo shoot. So that's my 10-year challenge, looking really cool in the photo, and this is what I look like now. But that's not really what I want to talk about today, guys. I want to talk about the decade challenge as it relates to the beauty industry, in particular, the salon industry for hairstylists, salon owners, and now we have to include suite owners, right? Or stylists that are operating in today. What did the industry look like in 2010, and what does it look like today as we are on the heels of 2020? Guys, I opened up my salon in 2006. So I was about 4 years into owning a salon, figuring things out, having the highs and lows and bumps and bruises of entrepreneurship or self-employment, as it were. So when 2010 came, I'll be honest with you, I probably was just so filled with all of the things that it takes to be a salon owner that I don't know if I was as kind of conscious that we were going into this new decade. 2009 was a big year for my business. It was the final year that we did an annual fashion show, which was a really, really big deal, and really was our form of social media back then, because social media as we know it today, Facebook was around, but it wasn't as big. Instagram did not exist. Twitter, I think, was just happening, and there really wasn't smartphones really like that in 2009. They existed. I think the iPhone 1 was out, but it wasn't like widely populated that everybody was walking around with these phones in their hand. So 2009, we were still doing shows and events and fashion and kind of going offline to promote. So I do remember 2009 in that regard, because I kicked off our YouTube channel in 2009. But 2010, I'm not going to lie to you, I don't think I was conscious of, it's a new decade that was about to happen as we went from 2010 and 2011 and on. But I think everybody is very, very conscious, mainly because of what it's called, right? 2020, right? So people are very, very aware. There's 2020 vision parties that are happening all over the country, all over the world. It's a big, big deal. And we're going into what people will coin the 2020s. Whoa. That alone is kind of an amazing idea to consider, the 2020s. Guys, I mean, it sounds crazy, but that's what we're going to be dealing with, right? Your children, your nephews and nieces, even us, we're going to talk about this next 10 years as, man, you remember the 2020s, right? They're going to talk about what we're just coming out of as the 20 teens, I imagine, right? Like the 80s or the 90s. So this is a really, really big deal. But even more than that, guys, there has been a total transformation of the beauty industry, of the salon industry as we know it in these 10 years. And man, I'm excited to do this video because I've seen it firsthand. Enough talking, let's get into it. All right, so 2010, 2020. First thing is how salons are operating. Guys, in 2010, and definitely before that, it was all about, I remember myself as a young hairstylist coming up, you had to do everything, right? You had to be good at weave, you had to be good at color, you had to be good at short hair, you had to be good at, bridal, different textures, white, black, candy stripe textures, whatever we thought. But today is very, very different. In 2020, guys, most of the successful stylists, salon owners that you see out there, barbers, they're very, very niche, right? So the difference is kind of generalist to niche, right? Do I need to be a master of everything or just really focus in one area? And I try to preach to you guys here on the platforms that I share information. Guys, niche is the way to go. I do believe that there are riches in niches. So as we go into the 2020s, especially anybody that's looking at this video or looking at the content that we share here at Torregano Group, guys, I want to encourage you to think niche. Just focus. I'm talking about your whole career on short hair, on blowouts, on just color, on just barbering on women. on only brows, on just lashes, on just extensions. And now, because of how we can market in a very focused way, it's right in keeping with how people want to shop these days. They don't want to go to department stores. They don't want to go to restaurants that serve everything. They want to go just in Chipotle and get what I need. Just into the denim or jean bar and get what I need. Just going, even the idea of malls are not as popular as strip malls. People want to be able to walk in Bath and Body and walk out, versus parking and going past JCPenney's and going around the pretzel shop to get to the store when they could just walk in and walk out. So think about that with your business. There has been a drastic change in how we operate with our businesses. No longer is there a need to be able to do everything. You can just now focus 10 years later and just niche. Relaxed and natural. Guys, 10 years ago, we started to see the decline, in my opinion, right about 2008, 2009, where there was, a lower request for our clients to ask for chemical relaxing. And I'm talking about all of the 90s, right? All of the early 2000s, guys, we were relaxing to the point that we were getting rid of a bucket in a weekend. Sometimes I knew stylists that can get rid of a bucket, 13, 14 relaxers in a day. Guys, right about 2010, we started to see that decline. Maybe it was that we had somebody like Michelle Obama that was in all of the publications and in the White House and showing this beautiful natural hair. Maybe it was that Oprah had revealed that she was chemical free and had this beautiful head of hair that many of us thought was weave that was actually her hair. Maybe it was YouTube exploding in 2008 and 9, and people were like, well, what are they doing on the West Coast and what's happening to this? How come her hair is this way? And people started saying, yo, I don't want to relax her. I want to experience my natural curls. Maybe it was that movie that dropped around 2008, 9, 10, Good Hair, that shook up the whole community of hair, which ultimately affected what we saw in the salon. Guys, by the time we're in 2019, 2020, the relaxer is almost gone from the salon menu. Now, you still have stylists that are dynamic at short hair, doing short, relaxed looks. I myself still on the tutorials, showcase relaxer styles, but in the salons, guys, our clientele is almost exclusively relaxer free. This is a huge change. So entering into this industry, we're going to experience stylists whose the bulk of their career is in the 2020s. They may never see the relaxer as a regular service ever in life again. There's a whole culture of young girls that are coming up that are embracing their curls in elementary, middle school, high school, college, deep into their 20s, 30s, and 40s that will never even ask for relaxers again. That is a huge difference in the decade that we've seen. And I don't think we've seen anything like that, to where a service that was the anchor in our industry, guys, the anchor in the companies that were really, really winning, they're leaving. You don't see some of these prominent relaxer companies anymore, because what are they going to sell? There's no need for neutralizer shampoo a lot of times. There's no need for these huge humectant products, right, that can weigh the hair down. People want blowouts in silk, fuller hair, and there's no need for relaxers by the boatload, guys. Sodium, guanidine, lithium hydroxide, doesn't matter. That is a huge difference from 2010 to 2020. Marketing. Guys, listen, in 2010, we were still doing billboards. In 2010, we were still doing magazine ads and paying for little bitty squares in magazines like Black Sophisticates and other magazines. Guys, we were still doing radio ads. We were still doing cable and television ads. We were still giving the local high school or college, $100 to be in the back of their program because maybe somebody would see us. I know, because I spent so much money. Remember, I'm telling you that in 2006, I opened my salon. By the time 2010 came, I had a full-on staff, a full-on business, you know what I mean? So marketing at that point, we were still spending so much money on traditional marketing. Guys, today, you would be hard-pressed to find 5 out of 100 hairdressers that pay any money for traditional marketing. All of the marketing is almost exclusively digitally. It's almost exclusively in digital free marketing, which is social media. Now, the reason why that's important is you've got to consider that not only that has changed how stylists and salon owners and beauty professionals and really any business operates, it's how the client and customer receives their awareness about your product, brand, or service. So you can spend money on television, radio, billboard, magazine, magazine, but the reality is they're not looking up in the car to look at a billboard. They're not looking at program television. Everything is on record. Everything is on TiVo. Everything is on Fire Stick. Guys, nobody's listening to the radio station unless you got a really, really good DJ in town. Most people are listening to their aux cord. They're listening to Tidal. They're listening to Spotify, which means the opportunity where their attention used to be 10 years ago to slip in marketing about your company is over. All their attention is down with their thumbs on these digital devices that are in everyone's hand, starting from as young as my 7-year-old nephew to as high up as my wife's grandmother, right, that still operates from her smartphone. Just vacationed with her and still see she got a smartphone too at 80 years old. So guys, check it out. Marketing in 10 years has took a drastic turn, and we've got to adjust. How people book appointments. Guys, in 2010, we were still, I could think about even a sub one, because not only were we still writing down in appointment books on our phone, thank you for choosing Rhythm. What would you like to get done? Okay, a blowout. Okay, that's going to be 75. What's your name? How do you spell that? Okay, let me erase that. Guys, we were on appointment books, and we were still operating from our debit card machine. Some of us having bad contracts. I had a bad contract at one time with a debit merchant service, right? So that was the way the game was. Guys, now it is amazing for me to see, to walk in a salon and people are booking exclusively online, right? They go to somebody's website, look at their services, book their services, sometimes pay before they even get in the salon. And even if they get in the salon after they've booked online, they rebook online from their iPad, phone, or digital device. Or sometimes they have automated tablets in the salon or computers where the client can book for themselves, and they're paying through Cash App, PayPal. They're paying through membership. Guys, this is a huge difference in how we ran the business now. So you've got to consider that as you're planning your business for 2020. It's digital. It's through the wire, guys, in booking and in payments. And that is drastically different than where the game was 10 years ago with all those little bitty receipts and all of that erasing and, pin marks in those $40 books we would get from Office Max or those appointment books. Those things are gone. Everything's on the phone. Everything's digital. Everything is so much faster. Guys, salons and salon suites. Guys, in 2010, we were still a 5-man salon. In 2010, 2011, maybe you began to hear about people that were in smaller units, maybe old doctor's offices that were converted over, maybe office buildings that now had units, but it was not the popular. I don't remember it being the popular thing in 2011. People still were getting out of cosmetology school, guys, getting out of barbering school and going to find the best out of 5 or 6 different salons or barbershop that fit what they wanted to do in their career. Right at about 2015, we really started to hear about suites. I know in 2015 is when we launched Torregano Education and Group. And I was on Periscope, guys. I was doing classes. I did 30 classes in 1 year in 2000. I'm talking about physical, in-person, 15, 20, 30 people at a time, classes in my salon, in my city, and around the country. And it was the buzz. Many people were showing up to even salon ownership conferences that were working in suites. By the time we got to 2016-17, guys, it was probably 30% of the industry. I would like to tell you now, I wish I knew the stats, but I would imagine we're over 50% of the industry now that not only is in suites, it's probably even a higher number of the young stylists that are coming out of cosmetology school, young barbers, makeup artists, spa professionals that are in school. They're almost exclusively saying, I do not want to work for anybody. I do not want to go work on a team. I want to work alone and by myself at either a suite or in a mobile or traveling fashion. Guys, that's revolutionary. That's probably one of the biggest things that has happened over in 10 years, and that changed the entire format of how we're doing our business. So if you're a salon owner right now, it's not impossible to build a team, but you have to consider that Johnny and Julie that's coming out of school, you're going to have to convince them why does it make sense to come work with you inside of your business and get a booth. Because if you're only offering booth rent right now and not a team-based situation and not education and not camaraderie and not uniformity and not marketing and photo shoots and traveling together and helping them with their clientele, if you or I are only offering a booth, a door, and a key, they're not coming. They're going to a suite where they can name it whatever they want to name it, where they can paint the walls how they want to paint it, when they can do their thing, their way. And seemingly, we all have heard this term, guys. It's a real thing that we've got to consider in our industry. Everybody wants to be their own boss. I mean, quite frankly, most of us that were even salon owners, that was our motivation for getting our own salon. I want to control my own destiny. I want to be my own boss. I want to have my own thing. Well, now every single hairdresser, barber, and beauty professional in this industry can do that fresh out of school. I mean, that is unheard of. That just did not exist 10 years ago, but it is the norm today in 2020. Guys, 10 years ago, the influencer, right, of the day in 2010, it was celebrity. It was Rihanna. It was Beyonce. It was movie stars. It was really still models, right? Naomi was still hot, right? Kate Moss was still hot right there. Guys, 10 years later, the influencer today is on social media. People are moved, they buy, they shop, organize their homes a certain way, they vacation certain places based on the people that they see on Instagram, based on the people that they're following, right, and influenced by. They're getting their makeup from these people. They're getting their clothing from folks like that, right? You might be an influencer that are influencing people to get your product, to get your hair care, to get a service from you. You may consider yourself an influencer. I have been called that many, many times. So I realize now that that is a huge jump, that people are not even wanting to go to Hollywood to be the next model. They don't want to go to Hollywood or New York to be the next actor. They don't want to go and be the next movie star when they can instantly, in high school, in middle school, 20 years old, I can create my own TV show now on YouTube. I can create my own radio show on a podcast, on Apple Podcasts for free. I can create my own replacement to what a magazine was through Instagram as a fashion blogger on my IG timeline. It is so normal today, but it was so absolutely abnormal 10 years ago in 2010. I mean, as I'm even saying it out loud, it's fascinating. And years from now, when maybe you or I may not even be in the beauty industry, we will have lived through this time. That was a fascinating changing of the time. There's a film that just came out by Martin Scorsese, who is a notable Oscar-nominated and, if I'm not mistaken, winner of filmmaking that went to the theater. He just made a film with Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, and Joe Pesci that went straight to Netflix. Now, what does that got to do with, guys, I'm just letting you know that there is not even a need anymore to go through the traditional system as far as how you can even get things marketed or showcased or shown. The true influencers now can be anyone, and not this handful of people, or it only has to go through the Oscars, or you've got to get an athlete to do it, or a celebrity. Now we can wake up and start being content creator and have as much influence, if not more, than people we thought were untouchable 10 years ago, who were these celebrity endorsements. That is mind-blowing. Where clients can go to get their hair done. People may not notice this as a big deal, but I think it is. Guys, 10 years ago, we were still using MapQuest. We were still printing off where to go. We had the TomToms, right? And the Jarmans in our home, you know what I mean? We still were using the Yellow Pages pretty much. And if your business was called AAA, sidebar, that's why they called it AAA insurance. That way you could be at the top of the phone book. That was like a little hack. That was a way to kind of hack your business to be shown into all of the people, right? Guys, listen. The idea of your salon was going to, I've heard stylists say, man, I can't understand why I was booked 10 years ago and now I'm not. And I'm trying to explain to them, listen, maybe 10 years ago, the people that were in your neighborhood, the people that were in your city, they only knew about 7 or 8 choices. That's the church that they went to. That's the store that they went to. That's the place that they bought their groceries from. That's the car lot that they went to. Guys, that's the salon or barbershop that they went to. Now, guys, they've got choices all over the area, 90 miles around. Many people are willing to travel. Many people can see your competitor that was right around the corner from you that nobody knew. But now in the age of the digital marketing, they are much more exposed and popular and can show what they were always great at, but maybe you or I was the staple because we were on the corner of First and Main Street. So now the idea of your business, it doesn't really matter the location or the proximity of people that are in your area. If you're not exposed online, you could be forgotten because there are so many choices. And that is why companies like Toys R Us and others went out of business, in my opinion. And it's not a negative thing about Toys R Us, is there's so many other places to get toys now. There's so many other places to go out to eat now. There's so many other places to get cars from, or furniture from, or clothing from, or vacation spots from. Even the hotel industry as a whole is being affected by Airbnb, which is eating up a huge portion of travel and leisure and hospitality. The cab industry, it's all about gone from one application that has no cabs or no cars. Somebody's kind of like, wait a minute, what did you just say? Ray, what did you just say? Guys, Uber does not own cars. They own an app. We own the cars. They don't buy the cars and have us to drive it, yet that company is multi-billion-dollar in evaluation, and it has toppled an industry that's been around for 100 years. I mean, that is just, it's a new day. People have choices. So I cannot just sit around. Ray, I want to be an educator. They got a lot of choices. Ray, I want to sell a hair care product. Guys, they got a lot of different places they can get hair care. But I'm really great at blowouts. Guys, they've got hundreds of people they can pick from. I've had people that come out of the country to come to my salon in Columbus, Georgia. Yes. Travel, get on a plane to get a service for 3 hours and fly back home. They do it every day, which means you can't tell me any longer that you can't make money in Virginia Beach, that you can't make money in Florida, that, man, nobody's going to pay this money in Atlanta, Georgia, in Montgomery, Alabama. It's not true. They come from, people will pay. They just have to connect with a business that they feel is worthy of their business. So you've got to know you can't just sit back because you're in close proximity to people. They've got way too many choices 10 years later in 2020. Now, this is a sensitive one. And it's one that people ain't gonna like, but it's the truth. Guys, 10 years ago, having a license mattered. I'm not gonna say it doesn't matter in 2020, but it matters so much less. And this is something that I didn't see coming. I didn't see that having a license was really gonna be like, wait, you don't say that, because the industry, listen, I'm not here to try to hold on and to just glorify the past. I'm here to tell you the truth. And the truth is, clients are less concerned about a license from a state board that, in my opinion, could not even be here 10 years from now. We've all heard that there is talks about deregulating this industry. We've all heard it. And guys, we've got to consider, how can they regulate an industry that's 30% mobile? What's the need to have a license on a wall when there's no walls? How can you regulate some of how these suites are operating in the units? How can you regulate when whole salons don't do chemical, don't do cut, don't do color, and are making millions? How are you going to regulate the industry that is being disrupted by the internet? So a license right now, and this is important because people will sit around and say, well, I got a license and she doesn't, and they don't. Those YouTubers, they're not licensed. Guys, if we don't learn from what YouTubers, influencers, natural enthusiasts are doing, the fact that they can go right to the customer. If you think the customer is concerned a lot about a license on the wall, and that is going to be the reason why you make $1 million and you're a six-figure stylist, that's naive. The client wants the service. The same way a client went from a cab to jumping in strangers' cars is changing. The same way a client went from a hotel with a lobby and a front desk to a lockbox outside in an Airbnb on a lake by a stranger is happening, guys. It's changing. It's a brand new world. I don't understand why people want to watch people online. They do. I don't understand why people want to watch people all day long clean their house on YouTube. It's changing, guys. It's changing. Listen, malls are slow, but people in the post office are working overtime because everybody's buying things online. Everybody's shipping things online. At this point, my entire business is online. 10 years ago, I was behind. Right now, as I'm recording this, I would have been behind the chair doing hair. But now there's so many people that are in the beauty industry that are online exchanging back and forth product, exchanging education, exchanging consulting and coaching. Guys, listen, it doesn't necessarily, not the license from the state board. You still may need a business license. You do need talent. You need professionalism. But to say that you got a license, which honestly is very, very easy to get, and it's not a really high bar in a lot of scenarios, we can't sit on that no more because we're not protected that they gotta come to us the same way that they did 10 years ago when the license mattered. In 2020, the reality is, guys, it doesn't matter the same. You've got to build a business. You can't hide behind just having a license. Now, this is a major one. Guys, 10 years ago, you know who was the rock star in the beauty industry? Certainly the salon industry? Distributors. They had all the cards, right? They had everybody's number. They knew where everybody was. They were the ones coming around with product in the back of the car, and they ran the show, and they could kind of like, sometimes they would even try to bully us into buying things, and we controlled your education, and if it's not up to us, you know, you might not have products, and it's got to be professional only, and all of the classes have got to be professional, and all of the education has got to be Well, guys, that's over. The idea of waiting for somebody to come to your salon with products in the back of their car or their van, I'm not saying it doesn't exist, because it still exists, but it is so much less that we see that. It's less popular than we've ever seen it, because now, guys, people can get their products either as a stylist in a salon, certainly as a customer, direct from the consumer. Even if it's the same companies that we were getting from. I remember when we first started to see professional companies seemingly divert into companies like Sally's or Beauty Supply. It was a really, really big deal. We're going to keep everything professional. I'm telling you now, in 2020, I think that companies that do not allow outside interest from customers to be able to purchase this from stores that are public, I think it's hurting the industry now. From companies or stores that are public, I think it's hurting the game right now. I know that's very, very controversial, but I think we need to know what clients want. I think for so long, one of the main reasons why companies wanted to only sell to stylists is because that's how they got rid of their product. And quite honestly, we would just be sitting on product and not really selling it. Right? Stylists would kind of collect this stuff in their salon. Hardly anybody was retailing over the last 10 years. I know, because I teach retail techniques, and it's hard to even get a room of 10 because nobody's retailing in these salons. Quite honestly, most salons that are booth rental, most salons that operate as these independent contractors, they don't invest in retail because there's not a lot of teams that are out there. So the companies will just try to convince us through their education to kind of just dump it off and buy all the color and buy all the products. And people would get stuck with that. And most people don't really even understand how most of their profits is going into products and tools and trinkets and gadgets. And it's like, yo, you can't make money if we're spending it all kind of being the customer to these distributors and these companies. Well, now people can go straight to the manufacturer, right? Straight to the warehouse. They can get what they want right to their doorstep. They got whole companies like Curl Box or Curl Kit, or companies like Ulta now has all of these amazing products. Celebrities are creating products line. Rihanna got a makeup line. People that are influencers got whole makeup lines, right? Yeah, listen, guys, it is a brand new day. So the idea of professional products, even the professional shows, trade shows, I'll be honest, guys, I went to them. I mean, it's the same old, because honestly, they're not seeing the influx of people even going to those shows, because people can get their education online, their products online, their consulting online, right? They're networking online on social networks. You're going to have to really take the whole game to another level for me to go to a professional only trade show. Ironically, consumer-based shows like Essence Music Fest or other shows, they're bringing in 500,000 people in a weekend, because the consumer wants a different kind of thing, and they're willing to go over the stylist's head. Quite honestly, some of the most popular companies that are out right now, especially for natural hair, never came through the salon. They never had a wholesale distributor sell to the stylist and then sell and mark up along the way to the client. That's over. People are making this product in their manufacturer, as influencers, as product companies, selling them for $1 billion and buying Essence and going straight over the salon industry totally and straight to the consumer. That change in 10 years it's been astronomical. I can remember, guys, 10 years ago, even before then, but definitely 2010. I still do a lot of teaching at schools, but 2010, 2009, 8, I was going to cosmetology schools about 3 or 4 times a year, bare minimum, in and around my city. And if you've ever been an educator in cosmetology schools, especially maybe 10 years ago, there was a question that we asked everybody, right? What do you want to do when you leave school, right? What do you want to do next? And here's what we heard every time. I want to be a platform artist. Everybody wanted to be either a celebrity stylist or a platform artist, because that is where the popularity was. That's where the lights were. That's where the shine and the, value was, right? If you could be a platform, I don't even know if we were using the word educated yet, but we were definitely using the word platform artist, and basically because of the first word. Platform, right? We wanted to be elevated, right? We wanted to be above the fray, and companies is how we could be a platform artist. We had to go work for these companies, do the shows all weekend, be hungry, feet hurt, talk to people, sell the product in the back of the room, and you can work for, let's say that it was 30 companies out there. It wasn't a billion like that. It was about 30 power companies that you could possibly be educated for. And if you were, man, that was like a badge of honor in the beauty industry if you were in their magazines and in their publications and at their shows. 10 years later, guys, you can't even find a young stylist coming out of school that could care less about being somebody's platform artist. They want to be an online social media influencer, which is totally different. They can create their own product line. They now have companies asking them, begging them to use their products. They now show up to events as guest artists, right? That are getting flown out just to sit on panels because their influence and what they're able to do for companies and brands is much more astronomical than this kind of, rank and file system that we had to go through. And I'm talking about me because I went through it. I was an educator, guys, or a platform artist for a company. I tried to go to so many, I could tell you about so many 2-hour, 3-hour drives, long days going through scrutiny to please let me join your styling team. Please, can I get down? And it's a long, arduous process, right? Of maybe they'll select you and send you out to a couple cosmetology schools, and maybe you can work behind the scenes at a trade show, and maybe you can get a little corner in their publications. Well, YouTube in particular changed all of that. Now there is no begging these companies. Quite frankly, I'll just mix these two together, that 10 years ago we wanted to be a platform artist and we were begging companies to please, can we get with you? Till 10 years later in 2020, everybody wants to be an online social media influencer. Everybody wants to be able to be an educator that's self-made online. And we're trying to get to where companies rock with us. Even now, from what I know now, if I knew what I knew now as a 20-something-year-old stylist coming out of school, I would be building all of my presence online. I would be building such a magnetic draw to my page by stylists, by consumers, really by regular clients and people that are in the world, because ultimately these companies want to sell their products, tools to the consumer. You know what I mean? You could sell a few to 10 hairdressers or to their 150 to 200 clients. That's the game. So that's where you get the Kylie Jenners of the world, the Kim Kardashians of the world. We get these influencers now, and we see so many of them in the beauty industry. So now it's like, yo, please, can I get down to your company? To the game has flipped 10 years later. The companies I know firsthand that are in your DM, that are in your email, almost begging, please, what can we do to partner with you? Because your community and your influence is what we need, because we have no idea how to operate in social media. We still struggling from 10 years ago when we had all of the keys, when we were the gatekeepers, and it was us that had to determine who was up and who was popular and who was down. Now, these companies are not only trying to get with us, and we've got to know the difference, but some of them are literally going out of business because they can't hang. That is brain mind-blown emoji when you think about that. And as we go into the 2020s, it's just going to get worse. And if you're truly somebody out there that knows how to deal and to connect with people that are out there, you can be a brand all in yourself. So now, the creative is the gatekeeper. Oh, the artist has all of the keys. Wow. And now, instead of being on the menu, we got a seat at the table. 10 years ago, cosmetology schools meant a lot. 10 years later in 2020, they're closing up all over the country. Now, You could say that's from a bunch of different reasons. And I could really talk to you. I've already talked to you guys about it in content that I created before. But I mean, there's so many ways to operate in a salon now that doesn't even need cosmetology school at all. You can operate a full-on braiding studio without school in many, many instances. You can operate a full-on natural hair care school salon with maybe a natural hair license that was created in recent years, or a barbering license, or none at all. You could operate through straight apprentice through a salon. The schools that had this curriculum that quite honestly was always subpar in my opinion. I don't care what school it is. It's so disconnected and disjointed. Every city is different. Every state is different. But guess what? For years, because that was the only way that you can get in the salon, it was protected. It was broken, but it was protected. But now it's getting disrupted. So now schools either create great curriculum or people are going to figure out another way. People are going to have businesses. Some people are just creating businesses that are straight mobile that people don't even ask. Professional, bridal, celebrity, movie sets, television shows, mobile styling. Nobody's asking you when you pull up to their house for a license like that. So I'm just listen, I'm not saying I'm for it or against it. I'm just a watchman, right? I'm just a messenger telling you what's going on. And now schools like that, they're closing. Think about it. In your city, at least 2 to 3 schools may not even be open any longer. I know in my city, 3, and I'm in a small town. 3 schools have closed over the last 3 to 5 years. They don't even exist anymore. They don't even exist. Whole systems of cosmetology schools are gone. Some are still intact, but it just doesn't mean the same thing. So 10 years ago, it was all about the school. 2020, not so much. Guys, I kind of mentioned this before, that, the options when we came out of school at one time was pretty much 2 options. Booth rent or commission. And really, it was how many different booth rents we're going to go for. Let's just keep it real. Commission has never been, and I wish it were. I wish co-mission, being on the same mission, team-based concepts were more popular. I wish commission wasn't such a negative word. I wish it wasn't such a cuss word in our industry, but it is. That's just the reality of the situation. And I don't know, with the advent of something like Salon Suites, that will ever change. I think it may be over. I think the idea of having a salon team right now, you're going to have to work really, 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 really hard. It's not impossible. It's definitely not impossible, but you're going to have to be a real business person. You can't just skate away now, because the options now from booth rent or commission, or let me pick through the 3 booth rents that are in my town when I get out of for barber school, makeup, brow, whatever, certainly hairdressing or spa or anything like that. Now it's like, do I want to be a traveling stylist? Do I want to be a mobile stylist? Do I want to work on a movie set? I mean, we got a company like Tyler Perry Studios that just dropped in Atlanta. You better believe that there's somebody in cosmetology school that ain't even going to a salon. They're going straight there. Do I want to travel with an artist, a musician? Do I want to be an online influencer? Do I want to go to school for a license to just be a YouTuber and have brands pay me to talk to people online with my 1 million subscribers? That's a real business. In many instances, making 2 to 3 times more when a traditional stylist is making in a salon. This is deep. This is a big deal. Do I want to go straight into a suite? Do I want to be like a couch surfing hairdresser that operates with pay by the day kind of applications when I just travel around the world? Do I want to be an educator full time? What do I want to do? So the idea of, is it booth rent or commission? Man, they got about 10 different options now. It's very different. So when you're in a city, like, I can't find people to work for, it's not that they're not there, it's that they got 10 different things that they can do now. With online booking, with smartphones, with Uber, with, ride sharing applications, when you can just pop up, get a Uber to the airport, get a Uber from the airport, jump in the Airbnb, do a rent by the day in a salon, in a suite. Yo, man, it is crazy what can happen now. So it's going to be a challenge. Talk about a decade challenge. What you could do with that license 10 years later. It is enormous. And lastly, this is something, and I don't want to step on no toes because I guess I'm viewed as the thing that I'm going to talk about. Even though I'll be honest, guys, I don't use the word very often. And this probably could be a whole nother video on this topic, and I think I might. But 10 years ago, I just don't remember it being this many educators. I just don't remember. And guys, you're on an educational platform, so I'm not here to degrade or downplay anybody that's truly educators out there, because we need probably 100 more great educators. People that really have the gift of communication, people that really understand learning styles, be it visual learning, auditory learning, touching, hands-on, kinesthetic learning, people that are patient, people know how to take complicated things and make them smaller and easier and bite-sized that people can understand them. People that are patient, man, I gotta say that again, right? Inside of their businesses and not. But 10 years ago, the only way that you could be an educator, you were trained, really. You had to go through a company, right? You had to go through the Avedas or Paul Mitchells or Design Essentials or Dudleys of the world and actually be trained through educational systems. I look at my wife. She has a master's degree in education. She has friends of hers that are line sisters or co-workers that are friends that have a doctorate degree in education. It's not something that we can just wake up and kind of self-appoint ourselves as an educator, yet it's in every bio. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. Everybody's an educator. And my question is, who's the students? But hey, listen. Now, how does that affect the game? Well, as far as like being an educator, company-wise, product-wise, the more options you have, the more you're going to split up and diversify the pool of people that can come to these events. You gotta have to be dynamic. You can't just be run-of-the-mill. So you can still be an educator. You can put those 8 or 9 or 10 letters in your bio. But if you're going to really be one that's paid, if you're ever going to do something, that's an airplane going by, but that's real time. We'll let that stay in the video, right? But if you're ever going to be an educator, guys, full time and actually get paid for that and to be a real stream of income, especially if you want education to be something that will pull you away from the chair, guys, you're going to have to take it up. I'm going to have to take it up a notch, really, with training on how to educate. Let me specify this and close out the video. Guys, the amount of people that are educators today, I think the education is based upon them thinking, well, I'm good at the talent. I'm good at cutting. I'm great at color. I'm really, really great at lace fronts and wigs. I am so great at makeup. I am dynamic at hair color or styling or natural look. So I'm automatically an educator. And that's like saying you're good at good with children, or good at babysitting, or you taught your brother or sister something and that made you a teacher that could go and teach other people. Like my wife taught first in elementary school. She taught first graders in kindergartens how to read. Like that is that's a big deal. And what we're asking for people to do, to invest in platforms like the Tribe membership, or come to a $300, $400 class, or go out to events that are happening where we have whole conferences for education, without, with our own training. Listen, you can do it. I'm an example of that. It can happen. And again, I hesitate to say that I'm even an educator. I consider myself a teacher. I'm sharing with people things that I've learned, a lot of mistakes that I've made. I'm trying to help people with better brands, better business, better lives, better salons, better hairdressers, or better hairdressing and better lives. But I take the word educator. I live with an educator. I live with a license from the state of Georgia, licensed educator that has a master's degree in education that can teach in schools and in colleges. So to be an educator, guys, it's so many. I mean, it's thousands of people. It's like everybody wants to be one. And I'm just saying, it's just a big deal. And you just didn't see that 10 years ago. It was because there was a way you had to go through, right? It was only so many companies that you could be an educator, and there was only so many schools that you could be an instructor or an educator. Yet now, it's kind of like, as soon as I get out of school, as soon as I get a suite or a booth, now I'm an educator as well, which can happen. Just be sure that it's something that you're born to do. Just be sure that you separate the talent that you're teaching versus the ability to relay the talent in an educational form. That is totally different. Guys, I go to conferences on speaking. I go to conferences that teach me body posture and mannerisms and being able to look somebody in the eye. I go to conferences on communication so I can listen to people for real, read their body language and the things that they're unsaid, conscious or unconscious, so I can actually actually show them what's needed for their business. I go to conferences, classes, training. I have coaches, guys, that teach me about money, about finances, about business, about how to set up the structure, how to deliver a great PowerPoint. I had to work with people, and I still have struggles with it, with ums and ands and snorting and stopping, and because all of that is things that they train you on when you're trained to be an educator. But if we just wake up one day and say, I'm an educator without the training, we might could be hurting the industry more than we're helping it. And I want you to help it. So if you are an educator today and it's something that you kind of just self-proclaim, like I did, nobody gave me permission to start Torregano Group. But I take it very, very seriously because I don't want nobody to spend a dime or spend any of their time in something that is just me trying to get my rocks off for validation or for credit or for the limelight or for status symbol points. I want to make sure that I'm really helping people. And if I'm not here to really help people, I'd just rather just focus on building my business, maybe teaching my staff and going home and going on vacation twice a year. To put myself out into the beauty industry, any industry as an educator, that's just such a big deal, guys. And I just encourage you to take it seriously. But I realize it's going to keep happening because now 10 years later after 2020, you don't have to do it for a company. From 2010, you had to go a certain way. Now you can just, I'm an educator. You know what I mean? So let's just take it seriously, guys, because it is a lot of people claiming that title. And we don't want to hurt the industry. We want to help it. Guys, that is it. This has been a long video, but it's been one that I'm excited to do. It's my version of the decade challenge, right? Again, I could show you some pictures of me and tell you what I was on 10 years ago, but as a salon owner, closing my business in order to do education, or this company full time now to aid and help small businesses, in particular in the beauty industry, I've had time to really look back on the game. I've had time to be 10,000 feet above the game and look down on it and say, wow, it's a very, very, very different industry. Not just social media, not just digital technology, but all of it combined. And as we go into 2020, guys, by the time we get to 2025, it's going to be different again. It is changing every single day. And what we want to do is stay current, so we're not history. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, share this out with a coworker, a friend, somebody that you think it would benefit in their business, with their brand, with their lives ultimately. Subscribe to this channel. Guys, like this video, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know if I was off. Let me know if I hit it dead on the nail. Leave your comments below, guys. Subscribe and like the video.